We've all heard the gossip blogs. We've seen the commentary where people have fixated on Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, his sexuality. Everybody has been calling this man gay for the longest. And I have said in the past that we really don't know Sean P. Diddy Combs' sexual orientation. But it's none of our business until a person makes it our business. And at this point, technically, P. Diddy is making it our business through Cassie. Cassie, of course, is the young lady who has been on trial for a few days. She has been testifying about her experiences with Sean P. Diddy Combs during their 11-year relationship. And we know that P. Diddy was arrested for alleged sex trafficking and racketeering and drug usage. He's been in jail for a few months now. I think he was arrested back in October of 2024. So he's been in there a few months now. And so his trial started on May 5th, 2025. But anyway, I thought it was time to go ahead and talk about P. Diddy and him getting involved with his freak-offs and using his girlfriend Cassie. And according to a lot of things that Miss Cassie is saying, sounds like P. Diddy is not a heterosexual man. And I really think that P. Diddy was using Cassie in his freak-off experiences to be able to explore and venture in his gay desires or his bisexual desires for men. And the reason why I say this is because of a lot of the testimonial statements that Cassie has been saying and revealing. For a long time, people have been speculating that P. Diddy is gay. I personally don't think that a person's sexual orientation should be revealed unless the person gives you permission to reveal their sexual orientation, or the person himself or herself reveals their sexual orientation to you, because sexual orientation is your identity and it is also privacy. You don't have to reveal your sexual orientation to anyone. But in these circumstances, these very severe circumstances, P. Diddy and what he was doing with his business, Bad Boy Records, involving people who worked for him and people who he hired who didn't necessarily work in the record label, but I hired them for voyeurism, sexual purposes and whatnot, as he refers to them as freak-offs. So I was looking at this article by Variety, and the title is Cassie Fights Tears During Diddy Testimony, Alleges 4-Day Freak-Off and Physical Abuse. He would drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head. And this article is by Ethan Shanfield, May 13, 2025. I will skip along to highlight some of these testimonies about what Diddy requested Cassie to do during these freak-off sessions with hired escorts. So her name is Cassandra Cassie Ventura, testified against Sean Diddy Combs Tuesday morning, wiping away tears with a tissue as she described the physical abuse and daily psychological abuse she suffered at the hands of Combs throughout their 11-year relationship. And there you see them in the photo there. Now, I skimmed and scanned through here to try to get some information about the details. And here we see Ventura began her testimony, which is expected to last several days, by describing the origins of her relationship with Combs. They met when she was a 19-year-old model and singer in New York, and a then 38-year-old Combs gave her a 10-album deal on his label, Bad Boy Records. Ventura only released one album. Ventura described herself as naive at the time, saying she was drawn to Combs because he was entertaining, fun, and larger than life. Also, he happened to have my career in his hands. So that right there is proof evidence that this is what you call abuse of power. Sean Combs was 38 years old at the time when he met 19-year-old Cassie. Huge age difference. And he was a very successful artist and record owner of Bad Boy Records. So, as she said, he happened to have my career in his hands. So this goes into when they started getting involved sexually. Not long after, on a trip to Miami, Combs and Ventura began having sexual intercourse. When she was 22, he introduced her to what he called freak-offs, which could be days-long, drug-fueled sexual experiences at hotels where Combs watched and masturbated as Ventura had sex with male escorts. When Combs first proposed the idea to Ventura, saying he liked the voyeurism of it, she felt nervous and confused. She didn't understand why it was a turn on, but she loved Combs and wanted to make him happy. So here, this lets me know that Cassie did not suggest or introduce freak-offs to Combs. It most definitely was Combs who introduced the freak-offs to her, and she said he called them freak-offs. And, you know, to me, it sounds like she wasn't interested in it, but she did it to please him. And it goes into some other details here, but I did read some information that was very disturbing. Ventura said she didn't want to have sex with strangers for Combs' enjoyment, but I didn't feel like I had much of a choice. I didn't know what no could be or what no could turn into. As Combs often videotaped these sexual encounters, Ventura feared that he could blackmail her by releasing the footage online. Ventura said Combs would watch the footage back while having sex with her on other occasions. So then she goes into explaining that at some point in their relationship, Ventura said she began to experience a different side of Combs, which was his abusive side. Arguments would turn violent, Ventura said, and Combs would knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head if I was down. When asked by the prosecution how frequently Combs would get physical with her, Ventura sighed and said, too frequently. These violent fights resulted in injuries like bruises, black eyes, and knots in Ventura's forehead. Yet, there was still love there, Ventura said. Now, many people would say, how could she love someone who was physically attacking her, harming her? Well, usually a person who is in a position of power and is a lot older than the person who they are involved in a sexual relationship with, they tend to pretty much love bomb them. So they're not going to start out physically harming you because they know that would cause you to run away. They know that they're going to try to reel you in really good, make you feel beautiful, make you feel like you're safe, make you feel like you have everything that you need and want. And Sean Combs pretty much set that up for her. So she was very young. Now, even though she was 19, she could have made a choice to not be involved with him sexually, romantically. But as you said, she didn't know what no could result in. And she pretty much feared that if she said no to Sean Combs, then it wouldn't look good for her. Like, pretty much her career would have not gone anywhere. And that pretty much is what happened anyway, even though she ended up being involved with him romantically, sexually, and consented to these freak-offs. Now, the truth is, they're trying to make Cassie look like she's complicit and that she's in agreement with all of the abuse and freak-off activities. However, it's kind of a situation where, yes, she was of legal age. She was an adult. She did agree. But you still have to consider the abuse of power situation in this situation, because it can really heavily influence someone like Cassie or a person in Cassie's position to do things that they normally would not do. And I believe Sean Combs love bombed her for a long period of time before he showed his true colors. And so that's why when he started being violent with her, she didn't just get up and leave, because at this point, he had his hooks in her. Like, he pretty much controlled her whole life. And she probably felt like if she left him, or if she said no to him about anything, the situation was just going to get worse. But this is how people who are very abusive are. You're doomed either way. Whether you say yes or no to them, they've already made up their mind that you are their puppet. And they're going to do whatever they want with you, whether you like it or not. So this was the situation that Cassie unfortunately was in. Yes, she had the opportunity and she could have made the decision to leave, but she did not. And the court proceedings will go on. I don't think that Cassie is testifying for the purposes of getting any money out of this, because she's already been paid off through the settlement that she had won back in the end of 2023 when she filed the lawsuit against Sean P. Diddy Combs. And then, of course, you know, the tape was released where he showed himself literally harming her. It was very graphic in that hotel, in the hallway, when she was trying to escape. So to me, that's evidence that Cassie probably tried to escape P. Diddy Combs many times, but she wasn't successful because, well, he would hire help. And it actually even reveals that information. He would have his bodyguards and different people just watching her constantly. So she really felt trapped. And that's a very scary situation. And him being in the position he was in, he was a very powerful man in the industry. And then also, you have to understand that this is a woman and she's dealing with a man. Men are already naturally physically stronger than women. And a man may never really understand what a woman feels or thinks when she is dealing with a man. So you're looking at a woman who's involved with this man sexually, emotionally, and she's financially dependent upon him. Like, her whole life is wrapped in around this man. And I don't recommend any woman to put herself in that type of vulnerability where she allows a man to literally control every move of her life. And this actually happens every day. Maybe not to this grand scale, but it happens on every form of level in life. There's so many women who involve themselves with men who are violent, and they stay. But you have to understand that a woman can be very intimidated by a man because he's physically stronger than her. He can overpower her. And this is why it's never an equal situation. Men and women are not equal to each other. Men are able to literally destroy a woman physically. And then when you add all of the other layers, if the woman is not in a position to take care of herself, maybe health-wise, financially wise, she may not have anybody there to support her. So she is isolated. And this sounds like Cassie's situation. And so I don't look at Cassie's situation like, oh, well, it's all her fault. She knew better. Because there's so many layers to this. But I'm going to go, because I kind of skimmed and scanned through this article by Variety, and people have been saying he is gay. And I'm like, okay, so what if he's gay? I don't think he's gay. It's possible that he is bisexual. But now it looks like the cat is out of the bag. And this man, P. Diddy, has never said that he is a gay man or even a bisexual man. And he shows the world that he likes women. He's always shown the world that he likes women. He's always been in long-term relationships with different women. He has multiple children. So on the outside looking in, he appears to be a heterosexual man. And I don't believe he wanted certain things to get out. And it was supposed to be freak-offs only for the people involved in the freak-off. Meaning that whatever happened in the freak-off stayed in the freak-off. But at the same time, Sean P. Diddy Combs allegedly would control and manipulate Cassie and other people allegedly by threatening to release tapes and video footage of them involved in these freak-offs. So in other words, that's called blackmail. It's also called revenge porn, and it's illegal. So I'm curious to know if somewhere in this investigation, this court case, if P. Diddy will be guilty of revenge porn. I believe that the only way that you technically can be guilty of it is if there's evidence or proof that he's released any sexual tapes with people during these freak-offs against their consent. So that'll be interesting to find out. But let's see if P. Diddy really was using Cassie in these freak-offs so that he could get off to other men. Several hours into her testimony, Ventura was questioned at length about the logistics of the freak-offs. Details like which hotels and homes they occurred in, which supplies were needed, and how Ventura and Combs procured the escorts. Photos of some of the escorts were shown to the jury as Ventura confirmed their names and described how each of them was hired. One, Johnny, was found on a website called Latin Men and contacted primarily in Los Angeles. Combs and Ventura found Jules on Craigslist or Backpage and would fly him to Miami. Las Vegas, and other locations for freak-offs. Another was known to Ventura only as, quote, the Punisher, end quote. Typically, Ventura said Combs preferred a black male with a large penis. All right, so, I mean, it's there you have it. Cassie Ventura said Combs, meaning Sean P. Diddy Combs, preferred a black male with a large penis. So these other men, they were Latin men, maybe they were Caucasian men, but it sounds like P. Diddy Combs preferred a black man with a large penis. Technically, this is not a man who would be considered heterosexual because he is selecting men. Most men, when they have these sexual escapades, you got threesomes and foursomes and all of that. But yeah, this was definitely a situation where they were selecting the people in the freak-offs, and P. Diddy was selecting men. That really was different because heterosexual men do not select men in these orgies. Men usually have a lot of women involved in these orgies, and they'll literally have sexual intercourse with all these women. But P. Diddy wanted men, and he preferred black men with large penis. There's just so much going on here. There you have the baby oil situation. Ventura was also asked dozens of questions about baby oil to the point that the defense called out objection because it's getting pretty cumulative. Ventura explained Combs' affinity for baby oil, saying they often used 10 large bottles of it, plus Astroglide lubricant per freak-off. Combs would often heat up the baby oil and pour it all over himself, Ventura, and the escort until they were glistening. Ventura said sometimes they poured hot candle wax on their bodies. Now, this is getting pretty detailed, so some of this I am not going to be reading. Y'all can check out the article yourself. But here's just where it definitely reveals that P. Diddy was into the men. According to Ventura, freak-offs were highly choreographed, events that were split into sessions that consisted of the same routine. First, Ventura and the escort would rub baby oil on each other and masturbate, while Combs instructed Ventura to comment on the escort. Describing somebody's penis to another male was awkward and humiliating, Ventura said. Then Ventura and the escort would perform oral sex and then intercourse. Sometimes Combs would join in. Ventura said at the end of a session, Combs would sometimes instruct the escort to ejaculate on Ventura's body and then tell Ventura to put the semen on his chest and nipples. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Sean Diddy Combs was jumping in with Ventura Cassie having sex with a man, and he would have sex with a man and a woman. So yeah, that's technically a threesome. And I don't know a heterosexual man that wants a woman to describe a man's penis to him and what she likes about it and all of these other details, and then ask Ventura something so bizarre and grotesque. Put the semen on his chest and nipples. Yeah, it's definitely confirmed that Combs is at least bisexual. So yeah, I don't think that he wanted people to know this, like I say, he definitely didn't want them to know. But it's out. When you do freaky things, as they say, somebody's gonna tell. And I can pretty much tell you this. P. Diddy Combs' sex life, his sexual orientation is his business, people. It really is his business. And the reason why it is his business is because it's his business. But P. Diddy allegedly did some dirty business, technically with his business, Bad Boy Records, and he did a lot of people dirty that worked for him. And so if you start doing illegal things, well, then that's when you make your business everybody business. So he's sitting up in court being exposed. And I think it's crazy how all his children are up in there and his mom. They say that that's not his blood mom. They're saying that's his aunt. But I have no idea. But either way it goes, she's taking care of his children while he's in jail. And I don't understand why the kids are there. They said at some point the twin daughters had to walk out. It's very graphic. And there's going to be other people who are going to sit up and testify. It's going to get to the point where we really find out, is he really guilty of all of the things that he was arrested for? Because people are saying, okay, so what? He had all these freak offs. If a person chooses to be a freak, that's not illegal. And it's not. But the way I understand it, sex trafficking is not just necessarily you bringing people across international lines. It sounds like he was doing it with state lines. Like, within the United States of America, he's actually hiring people for the purposes of sex across state lines within the United States. And that's considered illegal. And then also where it gets abusive is when he's forcing the people to perform certain sexual acts against their will. So it's going to really get more detailed, more graphic. At the end of the day, Sean Combs has already proven that he is a very volatile, wicked man. But a person's sexual orientation does not make them wicked. If a person is gay or bisexual or any sexual orientation that is not heterosexual, that doesn't make them evil or perverted or wicked. What makes a person wicked is when they are forcing people to do things against their will. We all have free will. Nobody is here to be controlled. We are not robots. We are not punching bags. We are not to be mistreated. Sean P. Diddy Combs looks like he's doing a whole lot more than just a freak off. But we shall see in the near future whether he's going to be found guilty or innocent. I hope that we can all learn from this case, because we have a responsibility as human beings, regardless of our sexual orientation, to love ourselves and to love people. So let's create love and not hate. I am Giselle Wallace, certified gay life coach and author. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a loving day.